your knees bent or with your legs long. And yeah, just let yourself settle. I'm going to mute everyone. I'm hoping, despite a few connection issues, that you can all hear me, even though you've all frozen. So settling on your back, and what I'd like you to do is to rub your hands together until your hands are warm. I don't know how warm it is where you are. And then you're going to bring your palms over your eyes. So you're going to have your fingers on your forehead and your palms on your eyes. And just give yourself this little bit of darkness to start the lesson with. So it can help us to bring attention inward. And it can also, you know, if you've been doing computer work today, Sam said sort of a bit of a frazzled day, it can just be really nice and quietening and relaxing for the eyes to have your palms over your eyes. And what you can also do, if you'd like, is keeping your palms over your eyes. You can start to let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. So just that very gentle easing of your head from side to side. Letting your head roll to the right and to the left. That's very nice. And then maybe just pause in the center, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then bring your arms to rest on the floor beside you. And if your legs are long, I'd now like you to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And when you're ready, when you've placed your feet on the floor, then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And just see how it feels and keep this easy. Keep your knees tilting from side to side. Just seeing how it feels to introduce this sort of easy, familiar movement into your body. And my intention today is that we have quite a, what was I going to say, a relaxed class. And we're going to be focusing quite a bit on our breathing, but our breathing in movements. So we're going to be moving, but bringing our focus to our breath in a couple of different ways. So what I'd like you to do is let your knees tilt to the right and to the left a couple more times. And then settle down in the center. And now what I would like you to do is bring your hands to rest on the front of your body somewhere. So it could be with your hands on your belly. It could be with your, with your hands on your rib cage or your chest, wherever's most comfortable to rest your hands on the front of your body. And then we've got a little focus here to help us connect with our breathing. So you can repeat this to yourself. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. So just stay with this focus for a few cycles of breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And you could also just say in to yourself and out to yourself. So obviously in when you're breathing in, out when you're breathing out. And we're going to come back to this focus at different periods throughout the class. And we're going to add in another focus a bit later on. So just for a couple more cycles of breath, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And then you're going to let your knees fold in towards your chest and hold around your knees and start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. So rocking side to side across the back of your pelvis. And just do that a couple times, rocking from side to side. And then I'd like you to settle in the center, to take your arms and legs up towards the ceiling and give them a bit of a shake out and see how that feels. And then when you've done that, when you've taken your arms and legs up towards the ceiling and given them a shake out, you can then come back to hands and knees. No, so you can then come back to folding your knees into your chest. And then from there, you're going to be rolling onto one side and coming over onto hands and knees. So when you're ready, coming over onto hands and knees and just letting yourself arrive on hands and knees. And we're going to start with some cat movements. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a sequence. So coming into your cat movements, rounding your back to the ceiling and dipping your spine down to the floor. And as you're doing these movements, I'd like you to, once you've done them a few times, I'd like you to come back to that focus on your breathing. So breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So you're doing these familiar cat movements with your body, rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor. And breathing in, I know I'm out, I know I am breathing out. And then from a rounded up cat, we're going to rock our hips back over our heels into child pose. And Emma, you may need not to take your weight completely back over your ankle. You may just need to go down onto your forearms and rest there. Or you could even lie on your belly if that's better. So round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels in child pose and just settle in child pose for a couple of cycles of breath. So let yourself rest and just feel the movement of your breath through your body. Now from child pose, we're going to come on into kneeling. So Emma, what you can do, because kneeling probably won't be good for you, is come into up kneeling. So the rest of you, if it's comfortable, sit back over your heels. We're going to do a twist in kneeling. So Emma, you could probably do a sort of swinging twist from side to side here. And Linda, if it's better for you to be up. So it's up to you. If you can sit on your heels, I would come to do a knee twist where we're turning in one direction for a couple of breaths and then the other way. If it's better for you to be up and you just do a swinging twist, you do it. So it's really important to adapt whatever we've got going on in our bodies. So if you're sitting on your heels, turn the other way, have a couple of breaths, and obviously turn your head. I'm just trying to sort of look at you. A couple of breaths, letting your shoulders drop. Good. And then we're going to come back onto hands and knees. And you're going to lengthen each leg out behind you in turns. So that's it. And just have a couple of breaths on each side. I really like this one, this feeling of stretching through the back of the calf, the back of the knee. We're seeing how each leg feels. And then we're going to come on into dog pose. So Emma, it might be that you, yes, I don't know how dog pose feels, and it might be you have to do a one-leg dog, or that you do fox pose instead. So when you're ready, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels, coming into dog pose. And I always think the first dog pose is very much about how does our body feel, probably where all the sort of aches and pains and stiff places are. So coming into dog, maybe bending one knee, bending the other, bending both knees. That's it. Just, how does dog feel in your body? And what can you do to start to, ease out some of those tightnesses. And obviously using a big sighing breath or two could be helpful. And yes, bending the knees is probably the main one, resting through the arms. And from dog pose, again, whenever you've had enough, you're going to fold back down into child pose. Again, just for a couple of breaths in child pose, settle yourself down on the ground. Let your elbows rest on the ground. Let your forehead rest on the ground. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then in child pose, you're going to lengthen your arms forwards. So your elbows come off the floor. So you plant your hands on the floor, lengthen your arms forward, slide your hands forwards. So if you then come up onto hands and knees, you're in this longer hands and knees position. And you're going to start doing a little bit of rocking. So Emma, this should be fine for you. Linda, you may not be able to do that much with your wrist. So Linda, if this is an issue for the wrist, you could always be lying on your belly and resting down through your forearms, yeah? And lifting in that way, more of a sort of sphinx position. So the rest of you, just seeing, how does it feel? You're not necessarily going all the way into face up dog, but you're sort of heading in that direction, rocking the pelvis forwards. Just once or twice more, but keeping it easy. And then again, sit back, either sit back to kneeling, sit back over your heels, or come into that up kneeling again, because I want you to take the weight off your hands and give your hands a bit of a shake out, or bring the backs of your hands together. And you can just, yeah, sort of do this one where we wiggle the hands from side to side a little bit. Okay, so that's the end of the sequence. We're going to do this a couple more times with maybe slightly different emphasis on the breathing in some places. So come back onto hands and knees, come back to your cat movements. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine to the floor. So Linda, you can always go down onto your elbows and your forearms for cat, if that's better for your wrist. So in cat again, once you've found that movement for the spine of rounding and dipping, then you come back to that focus for your breathing. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. So you're still feeling the movements. You're still moving in cat, but your main focus is on your breathing. You're not trying to do anything to your breath, but you're aware of when you're breathing in, and you're aware of when you're breathing out. Rounding your back to the ceiling, you're going to rock your hips back over your heels into child pose. Rest the elbows down, rest the forehead down for a moment, a couple of breaths in child pose. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. And then sliding your hands in, coming into kneeling, or coming into that up kneeling again. So some of you, Linda maybe, and Emma, you're better in this up kneeling. So you're coming back to your twist. You could be, if you're sitting over your heels, you could be swinging your arms, or you could be coming into the twist and staying. So I tend to, if I'm sitting and kneeling, like to come into the kneeling twist and stay for a couple of breaths. You could equally be swinging your arms from side to side, and you could do that in either position. Okay, then come back onto hands and knees, and again lengthen each leg out behind you in turn. So you're lengthening your leg back, you're tucking your toes under. That's nice. And then do the same thing on the other side, lengthening your leg back. And then you're going to move into dog pose, if that's okay for you, or elbow dog, Linda, if that's better. And Emma, you can always stay on hands and knees if that's not so good. So tucking your toes under, rocking your back over your heels, coming into dog pose. Now in this dog, I was wondering if you could make your attention a little bit more with your breath, but with this sort of big exaggerated out breath where we breathe through our mouth, and it's in an exaggerated way to help us release tension in dog pose. So particularly across the back of the shoulders, particularly across the back of the shoulders and into the upper back. Good. And have 2 or 3 more breaths in dog pose, whatever feels right. And again, from dog pose, you will fold down into child pose and have a couple of quiet breaths in child. Good. That's nice. And then, is it in this child pose? Yes, in this child pose, come back to breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And just see how it feels to come back to that focus on the breath in child pose. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And then once more from child pose, reach your hands, slide your hands forwards on the floor so your elbows come off the ground. And then come up onto hands and knees in this long hands and knees. So again, Linda, if it's better for you to be on your belly and coming onto your elbows, you can do that. So what we're doing again is this rocking forwards towards face up dog. We don't have to go all the way. But I always find it's interesting a second time that actually maybe it feels a little bit easier. How does it feel? And yeah, if we're going to next time in the next cycle of the sequence, we're going to do a different way into face up dog. So I was thinking just, 2 or 3 times rocking forwards. Where do you get to? If it feels comfortable, you can have a breath or 2 there. And then face up dog again. Sit back over your heels, give your hands a shake out, come into up kneeling if that's better for you. Okay, good. And then one last time we'll go through this sequence. So coming back onto hands and knees, back to cat pose again. So hands and knees coming back to cat. So one of the things I've been interested in this week is, I suppose, and I think last week as well, is working in these sequences of quite familiar things and just using them as a way of sort of calming my mind as well as my body. So rounding and dipping in cat. And maybe just seeing how cat feels and not having the focus of breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Just moving in cat. And how does cat feel? Good. And again, you can round, when you're ready, round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels. Just maybe a breath or 2 in child pose. And then coming on into kneeling, either sitting down kneeling or up kneeling, and coming into your twist. So it could be swinging your arms from side to side, or it could be staying in the twist for a couple of breaths on each side. Good. Nice. Again, coming onto hands and knees, lengthening each leg out behind you in turn. Lovely. And then when you're ready, coming into dog pose. So tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels. Now, in this dog pose, I'd like you to come to that focus on the breath. This third dog pose, how does it feel to breathing in? I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So we're trying to just be aware of our natural breath in dog pose rather than exaggerating our breathing. Sorry, it's really hot. I'll turn the heating off. Good. So how does it feel in this dog to bring our awareness to our natural breath? Good, that's nice, Emma, well done. And of course, from dog pose, settling down into child pose whenever you're ready. Just for a couple of quiet breaths. In that sense, when we rest into child pose, can we just let ourselves be? Good. And this time from child pose, rather than sliding your hands forwards, you're going to come up on hands and knees. And Linda, you could always be on elbows and knees if you prefer. And you're actually going to come to your tail wagging movements now. So imagining you have a tail, wagging it from side to side. Linda, I don't think you need any help with this one. You see a lot of wagging tails all the time. So yeah, imagine you have a tail, wagging it from side to side. And then I was thinking that you could start to wag your tail, rock yourself back into child pose. And then when you're back in child, slide your hands a little bit further forward. So then you can start to wag your tail from side to side and move into face up dog. And again, Linda, at this point, you might want to be on your belly and on your forearms. So it might be better for you to be in a sort of Sphinx type position, not so much tail wagging, but you could sort of wiggle your pelvis a bit. So yes, so what I was thinking this time is you know, with the long hands and knees, you can rock your pelvis back into child pose. So this side to side movement of the pelvis takes you into face up dog and back into child pose. Very nice, good, good. And again, it might be that you find a face up dog that you could be in for a couple of breaths and then come to one last child pose. So just settling in child pose. And again, Emma, if child pose is challenging for the ankle, lie down onto your belly, or anyone else who's finding child pose challenging, lie onto your belly and rest on your belly. And just come to your breath and just the settling, quietening. Good. Breathing in. I am breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. So in a moment, we're going to come up into standing through dog pose and a forward bend. But if perhaps Emma and Linda, that doesn't work for you, just come up into standing in a way that is comfortable. But if you would like to go through one more dog pose, when I was practicing earlier and I came into this sort of fourth dog pose, I was like, oh yes, that feels really nice. So I can't promise that will be the case for you. And yes, it might be that you want to miss out the dog. We're going to be doing a few forward bends, so you don't need to stay long in the forward bend. And then we're coming up into standing. And I was amazed. Now we're standing up, it's suddenly gone dark very quickly. So yes, arriving in standing. Good, we seem to be connected now. I can see you all moving. Good, come to your loose, easy swinging twist. And do this. So Emma, we're not doing any standing balances, but obviously you just do what feels right for your ankle. And if it starts to feel that it's making you tired being standing, we're not doing loads of standing, then take a little break and lie with your legs up the wall or on the sofa. I think you're in the lounge. Good. Very nice. Okay, just a couple more times swinging your arms and then settle down in standing. And you can have a look at your feet, settle your feet down so they're a little distance apart. And maybe do a little bit of swaying from side to side. So this might be the point where you close your eyes, swaying from side to side. Good. That's it. Very nice. Just settling down in standing. So eventually, can we settle in standing? Can we bring our hands then onto the front of our body? So bring your hands onto the front of your body in standing. And again, come back to that focus on the breathing. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Just feel 2 or 3 cycles of breath. And then let yourself roll down into a forward bend, sinking into your heels, bending as much as you like. Come down into a forward bend. Good. Let your head go. Just see how does your body feel in this forward bend. And we're going to do a number of forward bends and standing, because I suppose the focus for this class today is just calming, calming and settling and taking our time. Good. So from your forward bend, sink into your heels, roll back up into standing. Very nice. When you arrive in standing, bring your hands into prayer pose in front of your chest. You're going to let a breath come in, and as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let a breath come in, and then as you breathe, just let your arms swing and cross in front of you. That's it. So swinging your arms out to the side. Yes, if you're hitting something in your room, turn the other way on your mat so you can swing your arms without having to worry about hitting, I don't know, mantelpieces or furniture, ever like that. And then what I'd like you to do from here is swing your arms to give yourself a hug. And don't worry which arm you have on top, because we're going to do this, come to our breath here, and then we're going to take it into our eagle arms in a moment. So just give yourself a hug with one arm on top. And you're going to come to a slightly different focus now for your breathing. So close your eyes, if you like. Now, breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. So breathing in deep, breathing out slowly, and just see how it feels here with giving ourselves a hug like this. We've got our hands on our rib cage, and we might feel our ribs widening with that deep inhalation, and then narrowing with our slow exhalation. Just 1 or 2 more cycles of breath. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. And then release your arms, give your arms a little bit of a shake out. And then breathe in, take your arms wide, and exhale and give yourself a hug with your right arm on top. And this time we will take it on into eagle arms. Yeah, so this lovely one where we wrapped our arms around each other. And then what I'd like you to do is step your feet a bit wider apart, and you're going to come into a forward bend with your arms and eagle arms. So your feet a bit wider, bending your knees, sinking into your heels, using that weight of your crisscrossed arms to help lengthen your spine out towards the floor. Good. So we've got our feet a bit wider apart. We've gone into our eagle arms forward bend. We're having a couple of breaths there. Whenever you like, you can release your arms to the floor and just let them be floppy. Good. So if you haven't released your arms already, do so. Give the weight of your arms to the floor. Sink into your heels. Roll back up into standing. When you arrive back in standing, take your feet back to being a smaller distance apart. Let a breath come in, take your arms wide. And as you exhale, give yourself a hug, left arm on top, and then on into your eagle arms. So this one where we sort of crisscross the arms, wrapping them around each other. Good. And then the same thing is on the other side. Step your feet a bit wider apart, sink into your heels, fold forwards in a forward bend, bending your knees as much as you like, but keeping really rooted into your heels, and use that weight of the crisscrossed arms to help lengthen your spine out. Good. Very nice. Giving And you can, yes, giving the sort of weight of your arms and your head and your spine to the floor, and obviously releasing your arms whenever you want to. And then release your arms before you come back up, sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. And this time when you come back up into standing, keep your feet this wider distance apart. So they're like your feet are like the width of the narrow edge of your mat. And we're going to come into these side lengthening movements where we're taking one arm up. And this week when I've been doing these, I've been really letting the bottom arm swing a bit from side to side. So we're moving from side to side, taking one arm up and over. We can shift our pelvis towards the raised arm side and let the bottom arm swing. Yeah. And just do this a couple more times from side to side. Good. Very nice. Okay. Lovely. And then what I'd like you to do is release your arms and take your feet a little bit wider apart still. So sinking down into your heels. Now, Emma, you might find with your ankle, you don't want to go too wide. So yeah, feet a bit wider apart. Make sure you've turned around on your mat so your feet are on your mat, not off it. And sink into your heels and come into a forward bend with your feet a bit wider apart. And just see how that feels, and you could bend your knees if you like, and just have a few breaths in that wide, feet wide forward bend. Letting your breath come in, letting your breath leave you. Feeling your weight well down in your heels. Let a breath come in. And as you exhale, sink down into your heels and come up into standing. So keep your feet this distance apart, a bit wider, and you're going to turn one foot out a bit. So you don't have to turn it all the way so it's parallel with the mat, just turn it out a bit and then let that knee bend. So your knee is going to bend over the midline of the foot you've turned out. And then we're going to let our arms float up to shoulder height. So this is this warrior pose we were doing, a few weeks ago. You can look forwards along your middle finger if you like. And at this point here, come back to breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Trying to let the arms feel floaty, and we feel very planted from the waist down. And then from here, we start to fold forwards over the bent leg. So we bring our elbow to rest on the bent leg thigh, and the other arm reaches up and over. And then come back to, for 2 or 3 cycles of breath, breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. So your top arm is sort of reaching up and over. So you're very long through the top side of your body. Come back up as you exhale, sinking down into your feet. Release your arms. So the foot that you turned out is going to turn back to point forwards. And you're going to turn the other foot out. And again, it doesn't have to turn out particularly far. You're going to bend your knee. What is important is that your knee is in line with your foot. And then again, we float our arms up to shoulder height. We're coming into this warrior position. If you like, you can look along the middle finger of your bent leg hand. Let your arms feel floaty. Come back to breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Maybe another cycle of breath in your warrior pose. And then starting to come to the side bend variation. So leaning over your bent leg, your elbow rests on your bent leg thigh, and then you reach the other arm up and over. So it's sort of, very long across the top side of your body. And again, trying to feel steady and stable here. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. And then coming back up as you exhale. Turn the foot that was turned out, turn it to face forwards. And once more, you're going to be folding forwards into a wide forward bend. And sinking into your heels, letting your head go, letting your arms go. Lovely. Rooted into your heels. So make sure in your wide forward bend that your weight is down through your heels. And I'm going to suggest that from here, we come into, we walk our feet in and we come down to the floor through a squat. But I know that's not going to work for your ankle probably, Emma, and it might not work for your knee, Linda. So if that's the case, just come down into sitting, however works best for you two. So if it works for you, from your wide forward bend, you can walk your feet in till they're hip width apart, and then start to bend your knees forwards over your feet so you come down in a squat. Good. And if you like being in your squat, have a couple of breaths there. But where I'd like us to all end up is sitting with our legs long and wide. So pretty much where we were when we were in standing, but leaning back on your hands now. So yeah, may feel easier, I don't know. Let's see. So just to maybe let your legs roll a little bit in and out. So lean back on your arms, let your legs roll in a little bit in and out. What else can you do here? You can also stretch into your heels, spread your toes, and then just little by little, what's like to walk your hands in. Now, it's always possible here to sit your buttocks on the sort of edge of a cushion if this one is particularly challenging for you. We're not going to stay here that long. We're going to be working through a sitting sequence where we're going to come back to our breathing focuses, and we're maybe, I suppose, possibly going a little bit more slowly and deeply than we do sometimes. So from sitting with our legs long and wide, you're going to lean back on your hands once more and bring your feet into Cobbler Pose without using your hands. And what I'd like you to do in this first Cobbler Pose is actually sit in a sort of longish Cobbler Pose. So I mean with your feet not too close to your bottom, so that we can do a Cobbler Pose twist. So one hand is going to hold your toes or your one ankle, and the other hand is going to come back behind you and help support your spine. And have a couple of breaths turning in one direction in Cobbler Pose and see how that feels. And really try and use your arms here as, I suppose, support, almost like guy ropes or something even steadier than that, scaffolding to help keep your spine upright. Turn the other way. So it's very easy in Cobbler Pose that our spine can sort of round and slump. But when we're twisting, we want to try and keep as upright as possible and use our hands. Okay. From Cobbler Pose, we're going to move on into Pinwheel. So let one of your knees come on top of the other knee. And then let your top leg slide back. And come to a little bit of circling here. Circling and settling. So in a moment, we're going to turn towards this knee that's going out the side, and we're going to fold over that leg and rest there and come to our breath again. So when you're ready, when you've done a bit of circling, then come to fold over this leg that's going out to the side. And come back again to that focus, the breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In and out. Just really giving yourself the time to settle and quieten. And then what I'd like you to do is a little bit of exploration from your pinwheel. You might want to come up a little bit because you're then going to see what's it like to walk your hands over towards your back leg. And this can feel quite challenging, so you might not get that far. And then you can walk back to where you were. So you can walk back to the leg you were folded over. But you can also walk your hands past that leg. So it sort of becomes a bit of a twist. So that's what I'd like you to explore, walking your hands around on the floor, just seeing where you can go to. So walking towards your back leg with your hands, walking towards the leg you were folded over, and walking past that leg. And how does that feel? And maybe do this perhaps 3 times from side to side. And then you're going to come back into your pinwheel forward bend again. So it might feel that you're sort of walking halfway now. So you're walking again so that you can fold forwards and rest the weight of your body over that thigh, that knee that's going out to the side. And settle here for another few breaths. And this time, breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. And see how that feels, breathing in deep, breathing out slow. So one more cycle of breath, breathing in deep, breathing out slow. And then if you walk your hands in from pinwheel, we're going to come on into pigeon. So if you've walked up from pinwheel, you need to then slide that knee you were folded over back a bit. So the thigh lines up with the outer edge of your mat. And lean your weight down through that leg and lengthen the other leg back behind you. So we're coming on into pigeon pose or whatever variation works. So Emma, you're going to have to obviously stay with your weight off to one side when you've got your twisted ankle in the front. And Linda, this might well be better for your knee on the bad leg side to be more offside. So just see how it feels to be in pigeon pose. You can just be settled, feeling your breath. You don't necessarily need to be doing that sort of breath focus we've been doing. Just seeing how it is to be in pigeon. There are some twisty variations you can do in pigeon if you like. So that would be what if you're feeling settled in pigeon, would be coming up onto your hands, and then one hand stays in the center, and you keep swapping from side to side, and the other hand reaches back towards your back thigh. So you're just seeing how does it feel to lean through one hand and then turn and take the other hand back behind you. And don't do anything that, that you're forcing or that doesn't feel comfortable. You can also try this bending your back knee so that what you're doing is you're reaching back and you're touching your back foot. So that's another variation. But again, don't get yourself into some sort of really unpleasant position. If you can catch your back foot, that might actually be quite helpful and sort of pull your back foot away from you, but only if that works for you. And if you're feeling that you've had more than enough time in pigeon, then obviously rolling out. So if you still want to stay in pigeon a bit longer, you can, but if you've had enough time in pigeon, rolling out. And just leaning back on your hands. If you like, you can take your legs long and wide. I think when I was practicing earlier, I just wanted to lengthen my legs out in front of me and do something quite quiet and easy. And then again, leaning back on your hands, bring your feet into Cobbler Pose. And we'll stay for a few breaths in Cobbler Pose. You could do a little bit of circling here. So I'll just offer these possibilities. I mean, we all know them. So circling or rocking. So rocking is, yes, from buttock to buttock, sit bone to sit bone. And then there's also side lengthening or side bending, where we lean onto one arm, the other arm reaches up and over. So it's always interesting, I find, to have these different variations in Cobbler Pose and see which feels, particularly helpful for your body this evening. And then we'll be moving on to the second side of Pinwheel. So let your knee come on top of your other knee. Let your top leg slide back. Come to a bit of circling here. So circling, settling, how does it feel inside 2 of Pinwheel? And we'll be doing the same as the other side. We'll be coming into our Pinwheel forward bend, then we'll be moving around a bit and then revisiting the forward bend. So we can turn, so we're facing along this thigh that's turned out to the side. We can fold down over that leg and just come to rest in your Pinwheel forward bend in a place that feels comfortable for you, so that you can bring your attention to your breathing. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then we had our little side to side movement in Pinwheel. So we walk our hands in a little and we see how it feels to walk our hands over towards our back leg, which can feel rather challenging. And we can see how it feels to walk our hands past the leg we were folded over, where it becomes maybe a bit more of a twist. So what's that like? So just maybe 3 times exploring walking from side to side in Pinwheel. And how does this feel, I suppose, around the hips, into the lower back as you come into the sort of twisty place? How does this feel into the upper spine? Good. Yeah, so 3 times from side to side, just exploring where we can go. And then when you've done that, as much as you like, can be more than 3 times if you like, coming back into your Pinwheel forward bend, resting back down again, connecting with your breathing again. And now, breathing in. My breath grows deep. Breathing out. My breath goes slowly. Breathing in deep. Breathing out slow. For a couple more cycles of breath. And then we can walk the hands in towards us and come on into Pigeon Pose on this side. So again, if we slide the knee back a bit, so our thigh is lined up with the long edge of our mat, and then we lengthen the back leg behind us. It might be on this side, I don't know if it's the twisted ankle, you need to really stay offside. And the same for you, Linda. It might be that you're leaning back for that to protect that knee. If pigeon feels all right for you, you're rolling your pelvis over. So it might be that the top of your bent leg thigh comes off the floor. You're settling your pelvis down onto the ground. And just let yourself settle in pigeon, feeling the movement of your breath through your body. We've focused on our breathing a lot this evening, so hopefully we're in a place where we can settle with our breath. We can be slowing down. Settling. If you want to explore your those twisting movements in pigeon once you've settled, and it's walking the hands in a little bit. One hand stays in the center, and you're turning from side to side, reaching back. So I sort of start with this one when I'm reaching back and touching my back thigh, keeping it easy, leaning into the hand and arm that remains on the floor, keeping that hand in the center. And if you like, you can bend the back knee so that then you're touching your back foot. And see how that feels. If you're touching your back foot and it's comfortable to catch your foot, then sometimes it's helpful to then sort of pull your foot back, and that's, yeah. So these are all possibilities. And maybe that you've had more than enough pigeon by this point, and you're ready to come out of pigeon. But it might be that you want to have another couple of breaths in pigeon. And yes, again, you can lean back, you can give your legs a little bit of a lengthen. And then just before we lie down, I wanted us to just sit and gather our attention into our breathing. So you're going to choose a comfortable sitting position. So either, obviously Emma, certainly not for you, sitting on your ankles. If you want to sit, you could sit with your back against a wall or a sofa. So if you want to have your legs long, so Linda, this might be quite good for you to have your back against the sofa, your legs long and wide. Emma, it might be quite good for you as well. So just decide how you're going. We're not going to sit for long, just for a few minutes, so we can see how it feels to gather our attention into our breathing in sitting. So what I was thinking, so yes, do have your back against a wall or a sofa if that's good. And just do a little bit of rocking or swaying or circling to help you settle down in your chosen sitting position. Okay, so you're sitting however's most comfortable. And from swaying or rocking or circling, you're just little by little becoming quieter and quieter until you settle down. And you can have your palms or the back of your hands resting on your thighs. And just settling down. Letting your shoulders drop. Giving the weight of your body to the ground. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And just stay with that simple focus for a couple more cycles of breath, in and out. And then you might like to take your hands onto your low sort of side ribs for the sort of breathing deep and slow, because I find it really helps me when I'm thinking about breathing in, my breath grows deep, to feel the ribs widening as I breathe in. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. Again, maybe for another 2 or 3 cycles of breath with the hands on the low ribs. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. Breathing in deep, breathing out slow. And then we're going to lie down. We're going to do a couple of very simple movements, repeat some of the movements from the beginning and come back to these focuses for our breathing. So if you want to put anything warmer on, do so. We're going to do a little bit of tilting our knees from side to side, but you can always put a blanket over yourself. if you so wish. So I'd like you, when you're ready, to settle down onto your backs with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. And yes, any warm things that you want. And I thought we'd come back to the very first thing we did today, which was the rubbing our palms together. So how warm or cold your hands are, rubbing your palms together till they're warm. And then once more, bringing hands, your palms come over your eyes. So the base of your hand is on the bone, the socket beneath your eyes, and your fingers are on your forehead. And just letting your eyes be bathed in the darkness. Let the eyes rest back into the sockets. And if you like, you can let your head rock a little bit to the right, roll a little bit to the right, roll a little bit to the left. Just very quiet, easing your head to the right and to the left. And then you can settle your head in the center. You can let your arms come to rest on the floor beside you, or with your hands on the front of your body. And then come to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. It's coming back again to that familiar movement that we did right at the beginning of class. So letting the knees tilt from side to side. Maybe once, twice, 3 times more. And then if you like, you can keep your knees bent or you can lengthen your legs out. And we're going to bring our attention back to our breathing. So we're going to come back to that first focus of breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. So we're not trying to do anything to our breath at this point. We're just allowing the breath to flow through us, and we're bringing our focus to rest with the in-breath, the out-breath, sort of our awareness. So when we breathe in, we can say in. When we breathe out, we can say out. And it might be that you'd like to take your hands to your low ribs, so sort of those low side ribs, like we were in sitting. So when we come to this focus, perhaps we're actively influencing our breathing a little bit more. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slow. So when you breathe in, see if you can feel that deep inhalation traveling all the way to the bottom of your lungs, widening those low ribs. And as you exhale and your breath goes slow, can you feel that you're emptying out from the very bottom of your lungs, and you feel those low ribs sort of narrowing, hugging back around you? Maybe 2 or 3 more cycles of breath, feeling this deep in-breath, this slow exhalation. All the time in the world to feel the breath traveling right to the bottom of the lungs. All the time in the world to feel the breath emptying you slowly, slowly. And then letting go of that focus, you can find a comfortable place to rest your hands on the front of your body or with your arms beside you on the floor. And we're going to come to one last focus for our breathing, a different one we haven't had for the rest of the class. So breathing in, I smile. So you can smile as you breathe in. Breathing out, I release. So as you breathe out, just really letting go. Bodily tension of anything else you would like to release. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. So for a few more cycles of breath, staying with that focus. Breathing in, smile. Breathing out, release. Breathing in, smile. Breathing out, release. And in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl, but I'd like you to stay lying down because we're going to do one more little movement. Lying down. So so stay lying down and I'll just talk you into it. It's going to be something familiar, but quite nice to finish with. So lying down, what you're going to do now is, if your legs are long, bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And then cross your arms over your chest. So you're going to do this nice rocking where we've got our arms crossed over our chest, our knees bent, and we can let our elbows and our knees and our head all rock to one side and then the other. So I think you all know this one. It's just really where as we do this, we're rolling from side to side across the back of our body. And it just, it gives us this sort of nice sort of massage. And what you could do is use this to rock yourself all the way onto one side eventually, and then come up off the floor. And so, thank you. We have reached the end of the class. I hope you're all still